From the creator and executive producer of Playboy TV's The Truth About Sex, Science Channel's Punkin' Chunkin', NBC's My Dad Is Better Than Your Dad, and all three of TLC's Invasion of the Christmas Lights. Plus, he also ran the series Penn and Teller Bullshit, and was one of the original writers on Politically Incorrect. Comes the new 6-hour series, This versus That. On an all-new This versus That. What's the best roof to have on your house if you live in a hurricane zone?
There's nothing we can do to stop a hurricane.
Plus, we've got a fan that blows wind, rain, and debris 125 miles per hour.
It's like an Arctic hurricane, if that exists.
We've also got a gorgeous mansion, some crap we found in the yard, 500 gallons of water,
Not so fast, Hurricane.
a suit that puts the bad in badass, and, did I mention, an 8-foot fan powered by a jet engine.
I'm gonna be inside the house. I'm not gonna get a drip on me.
It's what This versus That calls a recipe for awesome. And if you had just $100, what's the single best bet to make in the casino?
Bring it. No monkey! No monkey! Can we get a new dealer here? One that isn't married to Satan, perhaps?
It's blackjack versus roulette versus craps.
Baby needs a crib. Baby needs a new pair of hands.
You're dying. You're suffocating.
What is This versus That? It's the show that uses science to investigate questions everyone seems to have.
Blackjack or crap? Should I buy a hybrid car? Use a life vest or the seat
But
cushion?
no one else can seem to answer.
Not
And these are your guys. There's Mark DeCarlo,
Dwarves, druids, a murder of crows.
Chris Tallman,
Sleeping!
and Brad Sherwood. They're three friends with an intense curiosity about how the world really works.
You are an idiot.
Now, they've been handed the tools, granted access, and provided the resources to find out. They'll ask questions,
What's the best type of roof to have on your house in a hurricane zone?
speak with the experts, conduct experiments,
I can't feel my fingertips.
and discover the facts. Then, at the end of each episode, your questions will be answered.
Really?
Yes.
The science within arm's reach will be made clear. And the right decision for you to make will ultimately be revealed.
I'm not sure what we proved, but we did it.
This versus That.
A hurricane occurs when a tropical storm off a coast. In the U.S., that typically means Florida or Texas or some other state with great barbecue. Vermont. Reaches land with sustained winds at 74 miles an hour or more. Now, over the past 100 years, there has been $10 million a year in damage on average. There's nothing we can do to stop a hurricane, but there is something we can do to minimize the damage. Especially the roof! Because the roof is the part of the house most susceptible to hurricane damage! So, what we want to know is, what's the best kind of roof to have on your house if you live in a hurricane zone?
To help us navigate the intersection of hurricane preparation and the complexities of residential construction, we're joined by Michael Grosswent.
A structural integrity for a house starts in the foundation properly anchored in the ground.
Michael is one of the most successful and sought-after contractors in California.
When you build a house in a hurricane zone, you want to be focused on three things. You want to be focused on structural integrity, water tightness, and the quality of your finished materials.
Michael's company has built many of the most luxurious homes in the Los Angeles area.
Back in the past, you had a roof joist and a top plate.
nailed together, what they call toe nailing, which doesn't make for very much bite into the wood, and it really doesn't make for much strength.
We're also joined by master builder CJ McDonald.
I can demonstrate that right now just by simply prying that apart.
CJ built this magnificent one-room mansion we've been reluctantly forced to destroy because we can't find a suitable buyer. Damn economy. It's killing me out there. It's brutal, boys.
In high wind situations, anything can become a projectile. And the bigger and the harder it is, the more damaging it's going to be.
CJ swears it was an accident that he built the house facing the giant noisy fan instead of the serene state forest. No wonder it's been on the market for 2.5 years. Son of a Before we reveal the best kind of roof to have on your house if you live in a hurricane zone, 4 experiments. In the first, we'll determine the best method of protecting your windows from 100-mile-per-hour wind, rain, and debris. In the second test, we'll determine which roofing materials are most likely to resist damage and keep water on the outside of the house.
Oh, it's so heavy.
In the third test, we're going to find out if opening your windows and doors during a hurricane will equalize the pressure on your house, thus protecting the roof. And in the fourth test, we'll reveal the best type of roof to have on your house to reduce the likelihood of a catastrophic failure of your roof's structural integrity. And finally, we'll destroy the house by blowing the roof off. Maybe. But you have to eat your vegetables first.
For our first test today, we're going to look at a house's windows. In a hurricane, the windows are always the first thing to go, and different people have different ideas of how to preserve your windows in case of extreme weather. Some people prefer putting tape on a window. Others prefer shutters. Still other people board everything up with plywood. Well, we're going to see which works the best. We have a big pane of glass right there. Right there, we have a fan capable of blowing 100 miles an hour. Let's introduce them to each other, shall we? All right, here we go. Turn it on.
What the? That's 100-mile-an-hour wind. And that single pane of glass is acting like the raging bull. It refuses to go down.
Glass, like other building materials, has advanced greatly. There's different types of glass. There's single pane glass, there's dual pane glass, there's tempered glass, there's laminated glass, there's glass of varying thicknesses. The thicker a glass gets, the more strength it has.
And yet, despite these advances in technology, windows still have an Achilles heel.
Glass can resist high winds, but glass is a brittle material. Any shift in the building structure, if you have high winds putting a lot of pressure on a physical structure, if you don't have rigidity in that structure, it will shift, and the glass is not very forgiving in that regard.
And a lapse in structural integrity ain't even the half of it.
I think what's unique about hurricanes is that you can get a lot of debris blowing, and no matter what you engineer your glass for, a projectile can shatter it, and then you have a major intrusion of destructive wind and water.
Pebbles, rocks, and yard debris aren't the only items around your house that a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane wind can turn into a devastating projectile. These oil drums weigh 75 pounds each, and your windows, garage, and roof are ill-equipped to counter their destructive capabilities once airborne. And according to the Red Cross, a hurricane with sustained winds of 160 miles an hour can flip a car. And at 170 miles per hour, the wind could blow the registration sticker off your license plate. Ever tried to scrape that off? Very hard. Coming up, which roofing material is most likely to save your house in a hurricane?
The winner is?
I'd have to say
We've got the answer. Plus, what do casino gambling and a hurricane have in common?
Baby needs a crib. Baby needs a new pair of hands.
In one, you can lose everything you own, and the other is casino gambling.